So most people are not going to want to hear this, but Canadians have not boycotted Florida. Hear this. Right now, according to an article that just was posted by The Logic, which they basically grabbed information from tracking sites like Airbnb, Vrbo, and a dozen of other property management platforms. They just outlined that Canadians are booking more long-term stays earlier this year and at a 70% higher rate than last year. I think the only thing holding these people back right now is the weaker Canadian dollar. Now listen, on the flip side, Canadian travel is down 37% this month, but snowbirds are a different beast. And most of them are more US prone than the other travelers. The facts don't lie.
They came in mass and they weren't good cancellations.
He says there was a common theme behind why many Canadians said they had to cancel.
The Canadian dollar, and that has shifted tremendously with what's going on. I know their health insurance is different up there, and so that's had an effect on how long they can be out of the country. And to be honest, some were just scared, and I'm not sure what they were scared of in general.
Of course, with the tariff talks, people's emotions got running wild. At the same time, though, in Canada, there's a lot of it's a record high food bank usage. Housing prices are through the roof, so people are. To begin with, there's a lot of underlying problems where people are, trying to get ahead and having a hard time doing that.
So apparently, it's not snowbird season yet. At least that's what a few Floridians told me in the comments, that tons of Canadians are still coming to Florida and that the whole boycott story is exaggerated. But the numbers, they tell a very different story. Welcome back. I am Maky Abugu, and today we are taking a deeper look into the reality behind Florida's so-called not snowbird season yet defense. Because while some people are still in denial, reports show that Canadian snowbirds really did pull back, and Florida's economy is starting to feel the chill.
It seems more Canadian snowbirds are deciding to fly elsewhere this winter to avoid the U.S. as their vacation destination.
The number of Canadians crossing the border has been steadily dropping, and a new survey finds the trend is likely to continue well into next year. Here's Pat Foran and Consumer Alert. Pat.
Well, thanks, Nathan and Michelle. Next month, many retired Canadians would normally be packing their suitcases to head to Florida, Arizona, and other sunny U.S. destinations. But a new survey shows a massive drop in snowbirds planning to cross the border, choosing other hotspots instead.
Playing some pickleball this morning with some Canadian folks here in Victoria, British Columbia, and had some great discussions. And we're talking about snowbirds and them selling their real estate holdings in the States. And they're doing it in protest to Canada losing its sovereignty. I tried telling them, said Trump's a blowhard. Canada ain't going nowhere. Iceland ain't going nowhere. But, yeah, they're all up in arms over this. And tried telling them, it's like, take the guy with a grain of salt. But it ain't happening. And but if they still want to sell all their holdings in an appreciating market versus Canada, I mean, it is what it is. Have at it, I guess.
Definitely been a magnitude of different reasons. This year in 2025, of course, politics play a big role into this. But not just that, the fact that taxes are going up, insurance, condo fees, the exchange rate is not helping, of course. And also your typical standard reasons, such as the wars and illnesses that we've had throughout the years. But this year, there's been a lot of focus on politics.
Yeah, we were just having a conversation. 70 cents on the dollar is where we're sitting right now. 32% of Canadians who have recently sold or who are planning to sell their U.S. properties say they intend to reinvest the proceeds into the Canadian housing market. So where else are you hearing people going instead of the United States?
Yes. So I know a lot of Canadians have been taking the opportunity this summer to travel throughout Canada, get to explore the beautiful country, and maybe just take a break from the U.S. just in general. Not Florida, but also Arizona, also other states. But I have a lot of friends, families, and even clients that are telling me that this year they're looking to explore, maybe go to Mexico, Dominican Republic, getting more into cruises.
Florida's economy is driven largely by tourism. And this year, the state is on pace to set a new record for a number of visitors that come here. But things have slowed down quite a bit, actually.
We are missing the tourists. We're missing the Canadians, Russians and Germans and English, all the Europeans who are often here. We see less this year.
Some Canadian snowbirds are packing up and saying goodbye to their U.S. homes
for goods.
They want to sell and they want to cash out and bring back their money to Canada.
Yes, technically, snowbird season kicks in from November through early spring. But here's the thing. By the time of the year I uploaded the first video about snowbirds, Canadians are already booking flights, rentals and condos. Travel agencies, airlines and hotels rely on those early bookings to prepare for the surge. And those numbers are nowhere near normal.
More Canadians are turning their backs on travel to the U.S., deciding to either stay home or choose sunny destinations somewhere else. A survey by the Travel Health Insurance Association of Canada found that only 26% are likely to go to the U.S. That's a 37% drop from last year. The survey found of those 61 years of age and older, only 10% are likely to go to the U.S. That's a 66% drop from the year before.
We've certainly seen a move by some to get away from maybe ownership or long-term rentals in the U.S. in favor of other southern climates.
The survey found Canadians are concerned about rising travel costs, political tensions, exchange rates, and safety. The shift comes at a time when the U.S. is introducing new entry requirements, which mean Canadians staying for longer than 30 days need to register and provide their fingerprints, be photographed, and pay a $30 fee. Canadians avoiding the States are also planning to spend winter months in Europe, including Portugal and Spain. Trips to Mexico and the Caribbean will also depend on the weather and the cost of travel.
Understand the visceral impact, the punch in the stomach Canadians feel.
For years, these snowbirds escaped the winter at their Florida home in Cape Canaveral. But with a weakening Canadian dollar and President Donald Trump's escalating trade war, they're packing up for good.
We didn't think things would get any worse. There are some people who say, we're very sorry and we apologize. And at the other extreme, there are a small number, but too many, who say you deserve what you're getting.
So they decided to list their townhouse 3 weeks ago, and they aren't alone. This Florida realtor says she's juggling twice her typical workload.
Especially in 2025, a lot of Canadians are selling. This is definitely the busiest I've ever been. I've never had this many listings. Typically on the high season, I would have maybe 10 to 12 clients, which means like listings. Right now, I'm definitely up in my 30-something.
So when Floridians comment it's still early, Canadians will come later. That's wishful thinking, because this year, Canadians aren't coming later. They are simply not coming. Canadian travel to the US plunged. Bookings to Florida down over 70% compared to last year. Cross-border trips by car dropped nearly 40% in the spring. Florida's tourism board quietly admitted, we are seeing fewer Canadians this quarter.
Something noticed by Fort Lauderdale tourism officials.
It's been concerning. Canadian tourism is down about 20%. Canada's our #1 visitor market, so it's disturbing.
So it's not just timing, it's real decline. Meanwhile, destinations like Mexico and the Caribbean are seeing Canadian arrivals up by double digits. Canadians are voting with their wallets, and that's the kind of boycott you can't spin away. Some Floridians are brushing this off, saying they know lots of Canadians still coming down. Sure, a few are, but here's the truth. It's nothing like before. Florida's businesses are reporting slower bookings, empty rentals, and weaker spending.
The signal that Canada is trying to send is the same signal that I say to my kids if they're threatened. Right now, we're being threatened with our sovereignty and our economy, and I say to my kids, when a bully threatens you, you stand up early and often and always. You send a clear signal and you do not change that. So what signal does it send if 1 million snowbirds fly south and give billions in tourism? It interrupts the signal that Canada is trying to send. And the last thing, and the one I'm most passionate about, is sovereignty to our country in the sense of economic patriotism. That means that we have to put our economy first. It doesn't mean nationalism, where we block out other investment around the world. It doesn't mean closing our walls as a country, but it means prioritizing Canadian-built products.
Canadians have made their way south of the border to escape the cold Canadian winter, but now some snowbirds are reconsidering their yearly trek stateside. New data shows places like Arizona and Florida are seeing fewer Canadians than previous years. And according to a new Royal LePage survey, 54% of Canadians who own residential property in the U.S. are considering selling, within the next 12 months. 62% of Canadians cite concerns with the current U.S. administration as the primary motivation for their decision to either not travel to the U.S. or to not buy south of the borders. 32% of Canadians who have recently sold or who are planning to sell their U.S. properties say they intend to reinvest the proceeds into the Canadian housing market. So, you know, aside from just the real estate portion, there's an entire snowboard economy that depends on Canadians coming year after year, whether it's Arizona or Florida. So what impact is it having on the larger ecosystem?
Yes, so it's going to be, once again, interesting to see what happens in Florida. I think my main concern is more cities that are very Canadian-driven, high on tourism, such as Dania Beach, Hollywood, Hallandale, to see what is going to happen in the next 2 months.
Denial might help save face online, but it won't fill hotel rooms or restaurant seats. Trump's 51st state comments and the ongoing tariffs sparked something much bigger than politics. They sparked pride. Canadians aren't just staying home, they're investing that travel money locally, supporting Canadian destinations and spending in countries that don't insult them. And Florida, losing billions in the process. This is what happens when you take your best visitors for granted. The money dries up, the beaches empty out, and reality hits hard. If you're enjoying this deep dive and you love content that actually checks facts, you can support the channel by buying me a coffee. Link is over there. Canada's snowbirds are choosing new winter homes. Mexico, Costa Rica, Cuba, and even Alberta ski towns are seeing the benefits. And you know what they are saying? Why go where you are not wanted? This is bigger than tourism. It's pride, policy, and pocketbooks. And Florida might be learning that lesson the hard way. So to everyone who said, it's not snowbird season yet, maybe it's time to check the flight data. The boycott is real. The impact is real. And Florida's denial, that might be the most expensive mistake yet. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. So YouTube thinks you like this video over here. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one. Au revoir.